Hello and welcome. I'm just going to wait once again for everybody to make it through. I hope everybody is having a great day, whether you're watching live or you're watching the recording. Just going to give a second. Just giving a second to give people time to log in before I get started. And welcome. It's a beautiful day again here in Nevada. It's absolutely wonderful. Definitely going to be a hiking weekend. What are your guys' plans for the weekend? I hope everybody treats themselves good on the weekends. Working with children can be so stressful. Hi Karen, how are you today? Hope everyone's having a great week. It's been a very busy week for me. I do a lot of advocacy work and everything seems to be happening this week. So it's a little bit crazy. I just hosted the Nevada NAEYC Parents Advocacy Council at my center, which was just super fun to have those guys there. They actually advocate for young children on behalf of the state of Nevada. They just got back from Las Vegas and I got to host them. It was so nice. Love to be able to do things like that. So welcome everybody. Just giving everybody some time to trickle in. So while we're waiting, once again, whether you are watching on live or playback, I'm just going to introduce in case you're just joining us. Hi Melissa, you're in Portland. I bet it is beautiful. My son is going to college up in Salem. So whenever I fly in, I get to fly into Portland when I visit him and he picks me up and we love just kind of exploring Portland. It's so much fun. And then we drive into Salem. So I just want to welcome everybody. Thank you again for taking your time to join me. And I know we're all so busy, so I really do appreciate that you take the time, whether you're live or you're watching the recording. Thank you guys so much. And again, I am Evelyn Knight, and I am the host of the Childcare Business Coach podcast, which you can find streaming anywhere. I'm on iTunes, Stitcher, I'm on iHeartRadio. I pretty much am on everywhere. So make sure to listen. And if you do, give me a review on iTunes. I really appreciate reviews. They help me out a lot. Oh yeah, he's in Melissa. He's not too far. So he actually is about in May, he graduates. Super exciting. So, and I'm also the owner of Childcare Business Professionals, which is a business I started not too long ago. It's actually not very old at all. I was actually getting some contracts through a couple different government agencies to help centers that were just really needed some revitalization, whether they were going bankrupt or they just were trying to up their quality or they just needed help. So I started getting contracted as an independent contractor and going in and fixing centers. And so I just decided, why not take this and turn it into something bigger? Instead of just being here local within Northern Nevada, I might as well take this on the internet and go nationwide. Hi Sue, how are you? Kristen, I see you, and I see Callie also. I don't know why some people's bubbles pop up on my screen, someone's don't. So hello, ladies. So anyway, I just decided to start taking this public instead of just doing it here locally in Northern Nevada. I decided I might as well take it online, since going virtual, I can help a lot more people. So my goal is really just to help other owners find the success that I have found as a center owner. We're on a mission, all of us, and I believe this is our calling. And so I'm just on a mission to help other owners to bypass the strain and the difficulty that we go through to get to the point that I'm at now. It doesn't make any sense for people to have to struggle and figure out their way through when there's people out there who've already figured it out. So if I can give you what I've learned, then you're ahead of the game and it helps you to not have to go through those steps, those painful steps. And some of the steps can be very painful in learning how to become a business owner. Sometimes it's not. Some people do great, but at the same time, if there's somebody there to guide you and show you how to do it, get some systems in place and automate your systems, why not? Why not take me up on my offer of helping and let me share with you the expertise that I've gained over the last few years. So that leads me to my next, I told you guys today I would be announcing our owners cohort that's coming up. So I'm going to announce that for you guys. Before I do that though, I do want to mention we are going to be talking today about follow-up. Follow-up is incredibly important, so make sure you stay to listen to the actual lesson today. Follow-up, I can guarantee you that if you start doing the follow-up, that is what will help you sustain your business down the road. So like I said yesterday, this foundational piece will fill your center today, but what about tomorrow? We've got to be thinking about tomorrow, and really follow-up is the key. And I know that sometimes we get so caught up in I need to enroll now, but follow-up is really even more important. Once you get your center full, keeping it full is the key, right? So make sure after I announce about our cohort, we will go into that. So what I'm doing with the cohort is I am starting an owner's cohort where we will get together once or twice a week. It really depends on what works for you. I am going to be scheduling myself on Tuesdays at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I'm going to be doing a session for brand new owners and aspiring owners. And then on Thursdays at 5 p.m., we'll be doing a session for existing owners. You, as a member, you will be welcome to both sessions. I don't really care if everybody comes to both sessions, but what I want to really stress is that on Tuesdays, I'm going to be focusing what I'm teaching and what we'll be talking about for brand new owners who really need to establish everything. And we will be going through everything from how do you start a business plan, writing your business plan, finding a facility, looking to see if there's any kind of funding that we're going to be doing all of that. I've been actually working with a couple different business coaches and advisors who are going to be coming in to help me with this. It's people that I've used over the years. And I'm recording some podcast episodes with a few different people, but they're also going to be behind the scenes helping me create some resources for you guys. And so that's for the new, well, and even the existing owners, there's going to be plenty. There will be a wealth of information for all of us. So for existing owners, Thursday evening, we're going to be focusing on things for existing owners, right? And so again, I'm going to be doing a lot of like helping you establish I'll be guiding you through creating your processes, your employee, not just handbooks, but I mean like procedures, so that everything becomes automated. As an owner now, I only go to my center maybe 5 to 10 hours a week. So that's what I want to help you achieve. If you're a director and not an owner, you can still join, but it's going to be a little bit different. I know owners have so much more control. It's a little bit more difficult for you. But if you want to learn how to automate your center, then you will also be able to find some value in that. So that's pretty much what I'll do. I will be providing you guys my information as a template, and then you can go and do what you need to do with it. So every month we'll be introducing a different level. So the first thing I'm going to focus on is helping you guys learn time management. One of the things I find with working with people is we often think we don't have time, but we really do. We just have very poor time management skills. This is something that I really researched a lot and have learned some great techniques. That's where I'm going to start. Number one, I'm going to find you the time to do this. I'll teach you how to find the time. So, and then we will start creating really your business essentials. And for owners, that'll just really take a lot of that stress off your plate. And it'll also help you. I am also going to be focusing on like some of the financials. I actually got off a call with my business coach, Christine, this morning and asked her for her guidance, and she is going to actually be helping also. She is going to be filming some different classes that we're going to be able to put in our membership area that you guys will be able to access to help you gain control of your finances. So with the membership, it is going to be $99 a month, and that you will pretty much have access to everything in our membership site. Since this is very new and you guys are my beta test group kind of, I am only pricing it at $99 a month. So a lot of what we're going to be doing, we'll be recording together, and then I will be posting it later. So I am going to be raising the price. So just to let you guys know, I'm giving you guys, my first group, the opportunity to come in at $99 a month. But after this whole series, I'm going to close it off as of Sunday. I'm not going to be taking anybody new at the $99 price. I actually will be raising it, and I'm discussing with my coach what we'll be pricing it at. We know it will be at least $199 a month, because I'm basically giving up my entire business plan and system, like my employee handbook, my parent handbook, my procedures manual. I'll be, and this is all stuff that took me 15 years to create. So I'm pretty much giving you 15 years of what I created in order to establish a successful childcare center. So I do sell my package. I have sold it to other centers for $12,000 in the past. So basically what you're getting is something I normally sell for an incredible amount of money, and I don't usually actually help them through it. I just give them a packet and say, here you go, and they do everything themselves. So that's why eventually the price will be going up. I did also open up 2 spaces. I actually wasn't going to take on any more one-on-one clients, but I did actually open up 2 more slots. So if anyone wants to work with me one-on-one, just message me and we can set up a time. If you're thinking about joining our group and you're just not sure about the cohort, you just want some questions, I am going to be available tomorrow and Saturday also for some questions. So I have no problem making some phone appointments with you guys. If anyone wants more information, we can talk, and I want to make sure you guys know exactly what you're getting into. I'm really big on that all the time. So I have no problem making a time to talk to you guys before about that. So just think about that. And if you enjoy what I've been teaching you, and something too I would just want to mention is just realize that this series I'm doing is just one of many that I actually teach. And so part of my membership, I'll have all of it in there. It's pretty much I'll be teaching everything from onboarding to employee retention to new hire training, and we'll actually work on establishing all of that for your centers. I'll show you how I came up with mine and help guide you guys every month through creating your own. Okay. And one of the things I'm going to do is 1 week we'll be doing a teaching series. The week after we'll just be doing a coaching where you guys can just bounce questions off of me and we can just have conversations. Saturday's session is going to give you a good idea of what it's really going to look like. So if you join me Saturday at 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on Zoom, you'll see more of how we'll be able to work together, how you'll be able to ask me questions. And then one other thing too that I'm going to be doing for my just my beta cohort, I will not be doing this in the future, is I will also be giving you guys 30 minutes a month of one-on-one coaching with me. And the reason I'm not going to be doing this in the future is just because it'll just get too overwhelming for me. So that is why I'm only doing it for the people who join with me before Sunday. So that is all I will give you on that. And I think we'll just jump into the follow-up, and let me just look at my notes right here so I don't miss anything. Do you guys have any questions so far? Is that all pretty clear? So I don't see. Okay, so I am going to just start with the follow-up. So follow-up, you guys, is so important. And interestingly enough, I was reading a statistic, I think it was last month, that in childcare centers, 80% of centers do not gather any kind of follow-up information from parents at all. So what that means is every time a parent comes to tour or calls you, they're not taking names, phone numbers, emails, any kind of demographic information, right? 80% of centers do not gather anything at all. And of the 20% that do, only 5% of childcare centers actually do something with it. So that gives you guys a major opportunity in your area to really dive in and get a hold of that information. So it's something that is just worth gold to you. And the reason you really want to make sure that you're following up also with parents is the biggest thing is people usually don't make those decisions, like any kind of decision like that, immediately. It normally takes somebody 6 months before they'll really commit. So they will be watching you. And this is the other reason why your online presence is so important. Because if you have a Facebook, Instagram account, whatever, they'll probably be watching you and following you for about 6 months before they make that commitment. And that is unless they are absolutely desperate for childcare. People do not usually commit immediately. It's anywhere from 2 weeks to 6 months before they make that commitment. And that is why follow-up is so incredibly important. You want to be at the forefront of their mind. So imagine if you tour a parent today and that parent goes and tours 5 or 6 other centers, but you are the only one who is sending them any kind of follow-up information, whether it's just an emailed newsletter or a postcard or just a phone call, anything. You're the only one who's staying in the forefront of their mind. That is going to be huge for you, right? So when they do finally make that decision, when they finally decide to commit and they don't want grandma watching or their aunt babysitting anymore and they're going to finally enroll in a program, you want to be the first one they think about, right? The other thing to keep in mind about follow-up is that maybe a parent that you tour does choose a different center, right? But what if a month down the road they're not happy? What if it's not what they thought it would be? What if it's just even 2 months down the road something happens? One of the things I'm sure we've all seen, and it may have happened to us, is a child will be enrolled at a different center. They bond really well with a teacher, and then suddenly that teacher leaves. Then what happens? The parents really just start becoming upset about it. They just, it puts questions in their mind. And not always are they upset about it, but it does get them thinking a little bit, right? So now imagine that this parent is uneasy about their choice. They're really not sure about their decision to enroll their child in, like they're thinking maybe I chose wrong, and then they get a postcard in the mail from you, or they get your newsletter, and then it just kind of gets them thinking, right? It just keeps you in the forefront of their mind. So when they start having those second thoughts, they might wonder, maybe I didn't choose the right center. Hi, Alana. Thanks for joining. So then it might dawn on them that, well, maybe I didn't choose the right place. Maybe I should have chosen this one instead of that. So think about that. You want to stay in the forefront of their mind, right? And just things just change. The other thing to keep in mind is people also just have more kids, right? So I told you guys yesterday that with our follow-up, I keep this information for 5 years, and that's why. So whether a person, they may not choose me today, right? But what if 2 years later they have another child and suddenly maybe they chose an in-home provider for their first child who's no longer doing it anymore. They decided they're going to get a job and they're not going to do it anymore. They still need care, right? So sometimes parents who don't choose you today may choose you 2 years from now. You just never know. But you have to stay active in their mind. It's all about branding and staying active. You want to show them that you're in this game, you're going to last. I think I told you guys in an earlier session too, how in my city, when I first opened my center, there were 5 centers here in my city, and there's only 2 of us left. there's only two of us that survived the economy here. And our economy was particularly bad. We at one point hit almost 30% unemployment here in my area. So, but that's important too. Think about, you just never know. Somebody might just decide to retire, and most small business owners, believe it or not, when they decide to retire, they actually don't sell their business, which just blows my mind. A lot of them just shut it down. And the reason for that is they haven't put systems in place, so their business is not duplicatable, which kind of makes it so that they can't sell it. So a lot of times they just decide to shut down. I'm working with another client right now who they're looking at buying a center that was closed, and they couldn't figure out why it closed down. And after we did some investigating, it turns out that that was the case. The people just wanted to retire, but they just didn't think they'd ever be able to sell it, and they just didn't want to bother trying, so they just shut down. So you just never know, right? And so all those children, where are they going to go? We had I'm about 45 minutes outside of Reno, Nevada, but we still had a center in Reno, Nevada recently that was shut down by the state. And all those parents had nowhere to go. So our phone started ringing because some of the people who lived out here were commuting out there. They were getting our information. So even though at the time I did have a wait list and I couldn't take any of them, it was reassuring for me to know that they were still, like, when that happened, it set my phones ringing, right? It's just that's added security of knowing that you can keep it going. So enrollment, you guys, is just the first step. Once you get to that point, you've got to keep it going for years. And do not forget that our children outgrow us. So we constantly have to replenish. I see so many owners who don't understand that, and they think, oh, I'm full. I got a 10-kid wait list. I'm good to go. I can stop now. You can't stop. You got to keep going, because those children will outgrow you. They will move away. Just, it's natural attrition. In our industry, just think about it. The children in our centers right now, in 5 years, every single one of them are not going to be in our birth through pre-K program, right? All of them will be school age by then. They might still be with us in our before and after program, but what's going to happen all day long when they're at school? So it's something, follow-up is incredibly important. So let me go over what I do for my follow-up schedule. And the way we have it set up is, so first of all, you want to gather information, right? So every time a parent comes through, you want to have a visitor log. Have them sign in, put their name, phone number, address, and email. And then you want to make sure that you're getting their children's demographics. You want to know how many children do they have, how old are they, and all of that information. Very important to have that. The next thing you want to do is use the information. Make sure that you're putting it, if you have ProCare or whatever database you have, and you can do it on an Excel spreadsheet, you guys. You don't have to overcomplicate this. Just make a quick spreadsheet on Google Docs, whatever, and make sure you're putting the date the person came in, and just make some personal notes, right? And create a mailing label system, an email system. So the day after they tour, you want to make a phone call and call them and just say, hi, you were here yesterday touring. I just want to see, do you have any questions or concerns for me? I don't say concerns on that one. Just say, do you have any questions? Are there anything I can answer for you? Did anything else come up for you after you left from the tour? So, and I can almost guarantee you guys, that you will be the only ones making a follow-up phone call. So let me know in the comments, have any of you ever made a follow-up phone call the day after a tour comes in? So if you have, say yes. If no, more than likely you guys haven't. That is it. For some reason in our industry, it's just something we don't do. So I think because my husband's a car guy, he's taught me that follow-up is so important. And then after that, answer whatever questions they have, see what they're, is they're probably still thinking, they're probably still debating, but the fact that you called is going to give you that edge, right? And when you call them to check on them, make sure that you're also bringing up those personal tidbits. Remember the day before at the tour, I told you guys, make sure you're connecting, right? You got to make some kind of connection. You want to be personal. So bring something up. Ask them how is, and use their child's name. You know, just make it personal. Make sure that you guys are keeping that, you know, like that you remember who they are. It is so important to people that you remember who they are, right? And so just make them feel comfortable and safe, because remember, people are more likely to choose your center if they have a personal connection to you and if they feel like you make them safe. So Melissa says, my husband is a recruiter and every day he tells me to follow up, please. Yes, absolutely. Follow up is, so my husband has ran car dealerships for years. He trains car salesmen. So I think that's where he's always telling, like, follow up is key, follow up is key. Now he doesn't do that anymore. He does banking. He's on the banking end of the car industry, but he's always told, like, follow up is just key. So yes, when you come from those industries, but in our industry, for some reason, we don't do follow up, which I was really surprised when I was reading statistics on that. So the next thing you want to do is don't just wait that one time. I will also, what I usually do is put a postcard in the mail, so that usually the day after. In my city, it's very small, so if I put a postcard in the mail today, the people will get it tomorrow. I'm sorry, guys, I'm losing my voice a little bit, so I might have to grab my tea here and there. But so just make sure that, like, so the next day, because I want it to be a trickle effect. I don't want them to get everything at once. I want them to think of me over a course of a couple days. So the day after the tour, you're making the phone call. That day, you're also going to put a postcard in the mail, right? And then hopefully it'll either get there the next day or the day after, because they probably live pretty close to you. So it shouldn't take too long for them to get the postcard. So now you have got yourself in their mind one more time, right? So then after that, I usually send another postcard maybe about 2 weeks later after that, somewhere within the first month, right? And on your spreadsheets, you guys, what you want to do is, if you create a spreadsheet for this, have like the person's name, you know, all their demographic, and then make sure you're tracking so that you can X that I sent them a postcard, I did this, I did that. You can also do newsletters after, like monthly newsletters, email a newsletter, whatever. I don't do newsletters anymore now that it's a lot of work to create a newsletter, email it. So, but I do constantly, like, we do mailing campaigns instead. So after the first month, you've sent something out. At that point, they're probably not going to enroll with you immediately, right? But they've either chosen another program, or at this point, they're probably leaning towards not enrolling. But that doesn't mean that they may not be a future client. It may just be like a mom who's just really nervous to enroll their child in childcare. So they might keep them with friends or family. They might send them to an in-home provider or a neighbor or something else. So you still want to keep yourself in the forefront of their mind. So after that, you want to send them something else at about the 2 to 3 month mark, right? And again, if you're keeping a spreadsheet, you're going to mark it like, okay, sent follow up, like 3 month mark follow-up letter. And then you're going to do it again at 6 months, and then at 1 year, and then again at 6 months, and then again at 1 year. And so once the people hit that 6 month mark, you're pretty much going to be sending them some kind of campaign twice a year. If you want to do it quarterly, that is totally fine. I do not think you can oversend. When my center was really struggling for enrollment, and when I was first started coming up with this program, I did email newsletters monthly. So actually for a while I was emailing weekly newsletters, then it went to monthly and whatnot. So that's something to keep in mind, just to stay in the forefront of their mind. And if you decide to go the newsletter route, if you guys are struggling for enrollment, what you want to do with the newsletters is make sure that you're giving the parents some kind of value so that they'll open the newsletters. So write something really fun, or even link to a really good article. You don't have to specifically write it. You can just say something like, we found some great tips and tricks that you can use when eating out with your child, and link it to I'm sorry, Karen, I saw your comment. I'll answer that in a second. So then you can link the article to your newsletter, right? Just put a link in it. So you don't necessarily have to do all the writing, but just make sure you're putting something useful in there. And then you can include a blurb like, we're now enrolling. I try as a general rule not to try and be too salesy every single time. So, for example, if you're going to do 4 monthly newsletters, I would only really push enrollment once per month. Okay, so that parents don't get tired of like, oh, she's just trying to sell me something. You don't want them to get that feeling. So that's why I only really put it in there so think of it this way: for every 4 times that you're sending something out, maybe just really try and sell them on enrollment once. So have you used a CRM? I don't. I'm really big on, I make everything myself. I mean, I use ProCare. So I do store all my data in ProCare. But I really like to just kind of create my own stuff. Now, my husband absolutely thinks I should be using a CRM. And I think they're wonderful. They would take the guesswork out of it, but it's something that I've just been able to manage myself. So as of right now, I just do it myself. But I do think that they can be really good, and I have actually looked at some pretty good ones. But I don't use one. I just use a spreadsheet. Kind of old school on that. So, Karen, do you guys use a CRM? I know, Karen, you've got a few centers that you're overseeing, so I could definitely see when you have several centers how a CRM would be very, very helpful. And a CRM, for those of you guys who don't know, it's basically a system that it's software that will help automate all this for you. So it's really just kind of takes the work out of doing this for you. So I don't know, my staff would probably love if I did use a CRM, because it would be that much less work. But I like the personal touch too, so sometimes I'll even handwrite on the postcards and whatnot. I do a lot of like the personal handwriting. So, but I think that CRMs are great. I don't think there's anything wrong with them whatsoever. So yeah, just keep in mind, you really want to make sure you're following up though, because you just never know. Parents, most people, when they are making a major life decision like this, and remember, this is a major life decision. Most of the time when people are making a major life decision like this, it does take 6 months on average to make that decision. So just because a parent does not sign up with you today does not mean they're not going to choose you. And I think sometimes we forget, we are in our centers every day, day in and out. We stop seeing our centers, we stop experiencing it. So I think what ends up happening a lot of times is we just forget what it's like to be that newer parent who's never had any experience with childcare. So just keep that in mind. Always keep that at the forefront of your brain, that we're used to this. This is normal for us. But enrolling your small child in childcare for parents can be pretty traumatic. It's scary, and especially in our day and age where the news just bogs people down, right, with the negative stories about daycare. It is really scary for some parents to enroll their children in a childcare center, which is why it is a tough decision that may take that parent 6 months before they make that decision. So just because a parent doesn't enroll with you today, don't assume that means that they're not going to enroll. Sometimes they just might be really scared to leave their child in childcare. And that is the other reason that you really, really want to make sure that you are following up. If that parent is not enrolling right now and they're just really scared, and you're the only one following up over the next 6 months, you're the only one they're seeing and hearing from, then they're probably going to choose you, because they're going to, just picture that stay-at-home mom who really wants to go back to work, but she's just not sure, right? And she just has one of those days where she misses being at work. she just wishes she had other adults to talk to, and that's the day she gets your postcard in the mail, or that's the day your newsletter comes through in her email. That might be the day that she decides, like, you know what, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. So, and you guys, one other tip on that, those are also the ones I recruit. Just a quick tip, I will go in, if you guys become a member, I will go in way more detail on that. But if any of you have listened to my podcast or whatever, you guys know that I have amazingly great employee retention. And that's part of the reason why, because those stay-at-home moms are the ones I target for recruiting. But that is totally off topic. Just a quick tidbit for you guys. So you just know and come up with your own follow-up plan. Following up is really important. So if you guys look at your workbook, you can see I kind of laid it out for you because I really want you to think about it. And it needs to be personal for your business. You know your community, you know what it's like. Again, we're going back to day one where I talked to you guys about making sure you know your customer base, right? So knowing your community, really, I want you guys to plan out your entire follow-up plan. Make it to a plan. And then when you're creating that spreadsheet, you can put on there, like, just mark phase 1, phase 2, whatever, however you want to designate it. Just make sure you're marking it so that you have a system so you're not missing somebody, because you never know. And that's something you guys would think about, like when you are trying to keep your centers full, in that if you're constantly, for the next 5 years, if you're advertising to these people, you never know who you're going to end up getting, who has a second baby. One of the things, a story I can tell you guys that happened to me was a few years ago, I did have a parent who chose a competitor. And they worked in Reno, but they lived here in my city. So they commuted, dropped their child off in a center in Reno. And that child stayed 5 years. 5 years later, the parents have their second child, and they came and enrolled with me. And when I asked them, and I had not even remembered touring these people 5 years before, but they actually told me, like, yeah, we toured with you, but we just really wanted them to go closer to work. But now we've decided over the years that we would be better off not having him in the car on that drive on the freeway. And since we got your postcard in the mail, we decided to check you out again. So just an example of how my 5-year plan paid off, because even though I was sending this to these people, like, they had their second child 5 years later. And even though they didn't choose me for their first, they did choose me for their second. And keep in mind, their first child was with that other center for a few years. So, and I honestly don't remember if I think the child was actually already about 3 when they were looking. So it was about a 3-year span. But they made that choice after a few years, is my point, where they, you would think, right, if they were at the same center for 2 or 3 years, why wouldn't they just stay there? But they did. They changed over. So that's where it's important. And what ends up happening when you have enough of these going and enough happening, it will just end up fueling itself, right? So in the beginning, you may not have too many. And this is where email is really nice, because if you end up having 150 on your mailing list, that does get to be a pain when you're mailing postcards and whatnot. And that's where I always say delegate. But for my staff that ends up watching this, are going to love that. But so that is where CRM would really come in handy, I think. And also where emails, because it's just so much easier to just, send it out instead of stamping and writing personal notes and whatnot. So, but when you're first building, I don't know, I think that personal, especially at this point in my career, when I do have a 2-year wait list on my center, I don't know, I think I'd still have to stay personal, just because that's what built me to where I am. It's what my reputation is. So my challenge to you tonight is to create that follow-up plan. And I can tell you, most of your competitors are not doing this. So that is going to really make you stand out, and it's going to help you keep your center full. And that is the thing. Enrolling your center is just the first step, you guys. Keeping it full is even more important. Because what point is it to enroll these kids if you can't keep them, right? What point is it if you can't keep the momentum going? So just really think about that. And that's also something to think about with the membership I'm offering, as I'm really going to try and show you guys the techniques that I've put in that has made my center get to the point where word of mouth is so powerful for us right now, and where like just people really just want to be a part of my center. And we've almost got a culture now where people are afraid to even leave because they know they won't get back in. So enrollment is really just step one. Once you get your enrollment there, now you got to think about, how am I going to keep it, right? Because it's honestly, enrollment is fleeting. It changes like that, you guys. It does. And you can be on top one day and then bottomed out the next. You guys know, especially if you have children, years just flow by so quickly. And these children grow up so fast. And not only that, but there's just natural attrition between people moving. I don't know about where you live, but where I live, it's pretty transient. We have a Navy base nearby, so every 3 years we see a huge turnover. So every 3 years, it's like the quarter of our population moves, and we get a whole new set of people. So that's where you got to constantly be thinking and just on your toes with enrollment, because it is a constant thing you have to figure out. And that's also why having really high quality is important, because if you are the center that everybody is fighting to get into, you're really not fighting for that enrollment anymore. And your advertising becomes cheaper so much, just becomes so much easier when you become a really high quality center. So I know a lot of owners are scared of high quality. I was really scared of it at one time because it seems expensive, right? Running a high quality center just feels and seems so expensive. But I can tell you guys, when I made that switch from just being a daycare to deciding we are a high quality preschool program from now on, it was a huge game changer for me. My enrollment just skyrocketed because it just made my center the center that people really want to get into. A funny story: about a month ago, I had a parent actually offer me $500 cash to bump them to the top of my wait list. That's just how in demand my centers become. And because of everybody, just, the reputation we've built. And we've worked really hard for that. Another thing that happened to us a few months ago, which I am actually going to be putting a podcast episode out on, is we had a parent who wasn't happy with us for a reason that was just totally beyond our control, and decided to really bash us all over social media. And and she was pretty brutal. I mean, what she said, she made up some, I mean, it was brutal, the things that she said about us. But we did not lose a single parent. Not even one family questioned us. Not even one family questioned. And it's like, I don't know, so many people came out to our defense that she immediately stopped. And that is really the difference of when you just push that quality. So I just really want to stress to you guys that enrollment and the things I've taught you here, that is really just step one, right? Now that you know how to get the kids in, now that you know how to attract them, now you got to work on keeping them. Because what sense is it to do all this work to get children into your program if you can't keep them in your program? So that's where I really hope I can help you guys through my membership too, is just really learning how to keep these children once you get them there. So do you guys have any questions? And if, just type them in the comments. If you don't have questions, how about, did you guys do the homework from yesterday I gave you guys? Did anyone go into their centers and start seeing them from a different lens than what you have been seeing them? Anyone notice dust that you've never noticed before? I'll tell you what, when I was hosting that, and for those of you who are just joining, I hosted the NAEYC parents advocacy group at my center. I let them use my facility, and something you really like, man, I'm just looking around because there was people from UNLV, from UNR, from just all over in my center. So I had professors and all these different people, and it just like, it makes you see things from a whole different lens. So if anybody went and looked at their center, I'm hoping you guys did my challenge yesterday, that you looked at your center from a whole different lens so you could really see what your potential tours are seeing. It's a great eye-opening experience. Hi, Anna. It is a great just and it'll I'm hoping you guys just start senior centers like that from now on, because it really will help you guys when it comes not only to enrollment but just upping your quality. So I mean, quality is a game changer in this industry. You can charge more. Word of mouth really just, it's crazy when you're, for parents, just hearing word of mouth is so very important. And it's almost like your parents become these super fans. I mean, like I was telling you guys, when we got attacked on social media, my parents were just on it. And I mean, parents who haven't been at my center for 5 years, whose children have outgrew me 5 years ago, were just defending us like you wouldn't believe. So I recorded a podcast episode on it, but I kind of had to wait for everything to blow over because I had to get a lawyer involved. So now that everything's done, I will post that for you guys, because I know so many of us deal with social media that I'll let you guys know just the techniques we used. We'll go into that later. So anything else? And again, if any of you guys want to chat about the membership or the one-on-one coaching, be sure to message me. I have a couple of you that I've already got some coaching, some calls scheduled with. But and again, just as you know, one last time, on Sunday I am going to be closing out the cohort beta group that I will be launching. I'm not going to be doing that beyond Sunday. And so if you do want to join that, be sure to let me know before Sunday. And I will be posting the link so you guys can start signing up for that now. So I will post that after this. And I did not get some of the stuff up I wanted to today, guys, and I do apologize for that. But I was very busy today, so I will get that done. And I think, let me just look at my notes, make sure I got everything I wanted to on follow-up for you guys. It looks like we did. So if you guys don't have any more questions, and I'm sorry, my internet seems to be lagging. I'm getting some pretty lagging responses. So I will again go through and answer any questions after the recordings. I do actually have to go take my husband. For those of you who don't know, my husband had a stroke not too long ago, so he can't drive. And so I have to take him, but about 2 hours from now, I'll hop back on to answer any questions. And again, Saturdays, meeting, we will be meeting on Zoom. I'll put a link up for that tomorrow. So if you have any questions you want me to ask, you can just jump on and ask me. There are some questions that have been messaged to me, so those I will be going on the Zoom, and we'll deal with those first, and then we can just chat Saturday morning so that you guys have an opportunity to talk to me too. Oh, no problem. Karen says, thank you, Evelyn. I look forward to working with you. I am so excited about working with you too, Karen. I think we are going to do some fun things together. I absolutely love your business model that your company has, and so I'm really excited to work with you guys. Okay, as well, you guys have a wonderful evening, and again, just put some questions in the comments. If I don't get to them tonight, I will make sure. I am gathering questions for Saturday's question and answer session. So I will see you guys tomorrow again at 4 p.m. Good night.